Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Learning Leading Now, where we talk all things Mobile County Public Schools. We're parents, we're employees of the school system, and we're going to chat on our podcast. It's a lot of fun. So I'm your host, Renee Phillips. I'm Director of Communication for the school system. I am also the mom of 2 middle school boys. And so our co-host today is Sally Erickson.
Yes, and I am the director of, no, I'm not the director, I'm sorry, the communications associate.
I thought you were the community engagement specialist.
Oh, yes, I'm that too.
I think we're all giddy because spring break is coming up, and I don't know where my brain is.
Yeah, I think we are giddy. And yes, I have 2 children who are young adults, so we're dealing with young adult stuff in our household.
So it never ends.
No, it really doesn't. Once a parent, always a parent.
And on the other end of the spectrum, we have Darwin Bolden, who is a career coach, one of 3 in the school system. And you're on the beginning side of this parent thing.
I am. I have a little boy. He's actually 2 years old, and a little girl. She's actually 1. So my wife and I, we're just starting.
You're in the trenches.
We're in the trenches, yes.
So never a dull moment, right?
Never. Day and night, for sure.
That reminds me, Denise Reamer, who's been on our show before, she jokes because you talk about the terrible 2s, and she says her children are in their terrible 20s.
Right. I can totally relate to that.
Don't you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I have the middle school age, which is a wonderful age. It's a fun age.
Middle school is special, yes.
Yeah, never a dull moment. And
I'm
I'm
looking
sure
forward to middle school, I think.
Yeah?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those golden days for me. I think I enjoyed those times.
Well, they're so much different when they're in middle school. They're a lot more self-sufficient. They're not quite as self-sufficient as they want to be,
Right.
but they are. So it is nice. You don't have to pack as many things when you go places.
Understandable.
That's
Yeah.
nice because you're in the thick of that.
Packing plenty of Pampers and wipes. Yeah, that's my day. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember those days.
And spring break, I think we all need a break right now, don't you? The
Yes,
students
for
do, the
sure.
teachers do.
Absolutely, for sure. I think it's going to help us a lot.
Well,
here in the next
but
several
that
weeks.
said, I think it's been a fantastic year, and I can't believe we're already at spring break.
No,
agree.
it's April. It's like mid-April.
It's
That's
amazing to
crazy
me.
to me.
Yes.
So, yeah, like I'm like, when did January happen? Like, when did this
Absolutely.
2023 happen?
Good
But
point.
and they say the days are long, but the years are short.
Right.
Have you ever heard that?
I
I
have.
have, yeah.
Yeah. But so we've had some excitement this week that I want to talk about. The Superintendent Threadgill just wrapped up his Student Advisory Council. So that was a lot of fun.
Oh,
and
wow.
Darwin, you get to meet a lot of our students. And so he has 2 students from each high school, and they get to give their input.
Yes, awesome.
And
Yeah.
from high school, they have a lot of input to give.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, absolutely.
So we talk about academics, we talk about safety, that's come up a lot. We've talked about the peer pressure that kids have these days, and just many other topics. Of course, we have to talk about school lunch. That's always a topic.
I'm sure it's a huge topic.
And extracurricular activities, facilities, but such a great experience to see Mr. Threadgill bring those kids in and to get their input.
I think it's needed for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
that feedback is important for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of feedback, Sally, we just wrapped up on that same day our Learning Leading University, which was the first time for us as a school system to do this program.
It was
Tell us
really
about it.
great, yeah, and that's actually how Darwin came on my radar. I mean,
right.
we both work in central office, but I haven't had a chance to meet everybody who works here. It's a really big school system, but Darwin came and spoke at Learning Leading University sessions about his job working with students, and that just really fascinated me. But yeah, it has been a wonderful experience with Learning Leading University, meeting people from the community who have really bought into our mission and want to help and want to be engaged and want to learn more, and that has just been terrific.
It has. And so we had the goal. We learned about this at a conference this summer because they did it in Tuscaloosa County schools.
I was curious.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? I was thinking
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome though. It's a great
was a
idea.
great idea, yes.
Absolutely, yes.
And that's what I say, great ideas are worth duplicating. So
Absolutely.
and so the people that presented it, they're like, please do this in your school system. They love it. It's one of their favorite things. So we brought it here. And now actually the Alabama Association of School Boards wants us to present at a conference about it so more school systems can do it. So,
Awesome, yeah.
so that's really cool. But so we invited the community. We wanted about 45 to participate, but we had so many applications that we did 2 classes.
Which was great because if some people missed one class, they could come to the other.
Right.
Yes. And we covered different topics. We covered academics, safety, counseling,
Safety
health,
and
mental health.
mental health. That was a very, very intense class, and people were riveted. So that was a really good one. We didn't really get into child nutrition. I think we kind of streamlined that part, which was fine.
Yeah.
But this past session, we talked a lot about maintenance and facilities, and everyone got up to the minute report about the new stadiums. So they were all very excited about that.
I'm sure, yeah. I think the one I attended was obviously my department, career tech, and also I think IT was on that particular one. So,
Yours was, y'all just blew them away, I think, with the things that you're doing that I don't think that people realize that we're doing. But I do want to touch on that, Sally, the stadiums. And I think Lewis Anderson with our facilities department spoke, and I think people were amazed because you do hear a lot about school facilities and how we do want to renovate. We're doing upgrades with the HVAC systems, and we're doing many projects. But we have 90 schools, and somebody asked them, how many plumbers do you have? 3.
wow.
So when I just the looks on
amazing.
people's faces when they heard that, how many painters do you have? 4. And so that some of it's a labor shortage and some's just funding. But we do the very best we can with what we have. And Lewis Anderson does a phenomenal job. He's just excellent. And I think everybody that came through, that he's dedicated to doing the very best he can for our kids.
That really encapsulated what made Learning Leading You so great, is that people had a face to put with a name. They could see Lewis Anderson's passion about his job.
Absolutely.
And so they met him and they had a chance to talk with him. They loved it.
Yeah.
So it was great.
I think it's all about exposure for sure. You know, to the community.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something you hear a lot about. The community is like, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on. So I think that gave us gave, I guess, them an opportunity to be able to see within these walls and what's going on each and every day.
Definitely. And just that each person who works for the school system cares. Like, we're here because we love kids and we want the best for them. And they also got to meet Terrence Mixon, who is, if you're listening to this, the famous voice
Yes, he is.
that you hear when you have not registered your child yet. Because I am a procrastinator and I get that phone call too. But he's the deep voice. You know,
He's got a
"Attention,
great
it's time to
voice." He
does,
register
he
for the
does.
next school year. And so as soon as I said he's the voice, everybody's like, oh, we know that voice. But he's over student support services, which is so much. It's transportation, discipline, nursing, social work, so zoning, transfers. So he was explaining a lot of that process. But I will plug that it is time to register for the 23-24 school year, which
Yes.
seems insane.
We want
But
everyone
yes.
to register online. We know it's not always easy to do. We've tried to make it as simple as possible, and there's plenty of information on the website and on our Facebook page about how to do it.
Right.
And we're really hopeful that everyone will do it before June 1st.
Right. So spring break first, finish strong, but register for next year because it'll be here before we know it.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Just, yeah. And so, Darwin, I want to talk because I think when you guys spoke to that group, because the question that we always get is, what are you doing to prepare our kids to be college and career ready, right? Because that's our very essence of who we are.
Absolutely.
And so tell us, like, so many things. Tell us about your colleagues because we went through so much.
Yes, we did. And obviously we don't have the time to go through it today, but we have so much going on in career and technical education. I have a true passion for the work that I do, but we all are just wrapped up in trying to put our students in the best positions and best positions to be able to be successful. Everything we run the gamut over in career tech education. Everything from healthcare to welding to business, you name it. For the most part, career tech runs the gamut in that area. So we stay busy. We have a lot of programs in each of our high schools where students are participating and are receiving certifications to be able to use those within business and industry. So that's our objective, to make sure put our students in positions to be successful. And I think we're doing a great job at that. We have definitely over the last several years for sure. So.
I think you were. And one of the things, I think it was Terry Moore who was talking about the nursing program.
Yes.
And I was watching someone as she was talking about the certifications that our students get, and they clock in and they clock out. So it's just like a real workplace.
That's right.
And there was someone from the health department listening or from one of the local hospitals, I can't remember. And everything she said, that person was just
Rocking their
nodding. Because it's like, yes, that's what we need. Yes, that's what we do. Yes, because they're doing vital signs.
That's right.
They're doing all the things that a CNA or a nurse would do. And so
Right,
she
right.
was just amazed at what our kids are doing.
I do recall that. And I think she was more amazed probably about the soft skills portion of it. Like you said, just clocking in and clocking out. That's something that they added into our curriculum over the last several years because they thought that would be important students had to understand the importance of, leaving on time, coming in on time, et cetera. So just to hear that sometimes I think is shocking to people that don't know that we have those type of things in place. So.
Well, it creates that atmosphere of professionalism, doesn't
yes,
it? Like
yes,
when you have to clock in,
absolutely.
I am here to work.
Absolutely. I agree.
Well, we just finished up with the first career fair that we've had since 2019, I believe you said.
That's
Darwin.
correct, yeah.
And that was at the fairgrounds, and it was for juniors and seniors.
Yeah, so mainly around seniors mainly, but yes.
But the thing that I find the most interesting is how do you connect students with representatives from the workplace in this post-COVID era,
Right.
where maybe some students' vision of the workplace isn't exactly their vision of the workplace. I guess in terms of flex time and when am I going to get vacation and and why do I have to clock in at the exact same time as everyone else? So I'm wondering about making those connections. Can you talk a little bit about some of the feedback you've gotten from our business representatives who were at the career fair, maybe?
Yeah, so far a lot of them have been extremely satisfied with honestly how our students represented themselves. A lot of them had resumes in hand when they walked in, which I think was a shock to some business and industry, to be honest. We live in this post, cell phone era for the most part, our present cell phone era for the most part, where, that's the main objective is using the cell phone to do everything, but for them to walk in with
including
those
holding your
important.
resume on your phone, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, but they came dressed prepared, most for the most part, and also, like I said, definitely had resumes in hand, and I think employeers were very shocked and pleased with the results of the students and their response to them in general. So so far I've got nothing but great feedback. We will be sending out a survey maybe tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, specifically to all our vendors that attended, just to get feedback, and we're going to use that feedback to obviously prepare for next year and hopefully make that particular fair even better. So.
And can you talk a little bit about some of the mock interviews y'all have been doing with your department? I was curious about that because our department, the communications department, helped
Right.
with mock interviews last year with some of the high schools, and we really enjoyed that. It was a chance to meet some really, really fun kids
Yes.
and kind of trade ideas about how do you sell yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a concept that maybe is difficult to impart to young people is you are selling yourself just like a product. This is something where you've got to present yourself in the best possible light in any situation and
Absolutely.
to answer any question.
Yes. So for sure, mock interviews are extremely important. I think our students have definitely thrived in that area because of us forcing. I don't want to use the term forcing.
We
but
practice.
we
Right.
practice.
We
That's right.
practice.
There you go. But putting them in a position to be great is always a great thing. But these mock interviews, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually just left some today, this morning, over at Williamson High School for their seniors. They're requiring all seniors to complete mock interviews before they graduate, and I was shocked at honestly how well some of them did. They were a lot of them were nervous, of course, which is expected. But it does put them in a position to be able to express themselves, show themselves how to express themselves properly. And then we also give them, obviously, great feedback on the back end, which is important, that they understand the things that they did well and the things the areas that they may be able to improve. So I think it's been beneficial to us as well as to employers. Once again, we live in this era of cell phones, and most people don't communicate face to face anymore. They're
Right.
not.
They
They're
really
not accustomed.
don't.
They're not accustomed to that
Yeah.
anymore.
The
So
eye contact.
yes,
And the
yes.
listening.
It's the smallest
and,
things. You'll be
yeah.
surprised. Their hand movements. It's sometimes I'm very shocked at just the small things that we tend to miss. But it's because the world we live in now in some cases. So.
Well, the other thing that I found interesting about the whole mock interview process was talking with them about social media.
Yes.
Having an old person like me talk to them about social media. But one of the things I kept emphasizing was you need to have a LinkedIn profile because that's the latest thing. Now,
It is, yeah,
a few months from now,
professional.
I might be telling you something different, but right now it's LinkedIn.
Right,
And
yeah.
then also, it just seemed kind of obvious. But, before you go on a job interview, might want to just go through your social media, your most recent posts at least, and
Clean up
just
some things.
tidy things up. Maybe
Right.
delete a few photos here and there.
Absolutely.
It was just kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because that's obviously one of my. I actually have multiple slides on a PowerPoint presentation that I do when it comes to mock interviews, preparing students for the interview process for jobs, and I have multiple slides talking about social media. what you should have on there, what you should not have on there. And even the fact that, hey, look, before you walk into a building, make sure that you, like you said, you tidy those areas up. If you think there's something out there that shouldn't be out there, most likely that means it shouldn't be there. So
I've heard
so,
a good rule of thumb is if you wouldn't show it to your grandmother,
Yes.
don't post it.
I've heard that one.
You ever
too.
heard that? Yeah,
Yes,
like
absolutely.
don't put it. Don't put it. If you wouldn't show it to a boss,
That's right.
don't put it up there.
That's right.
And that's what you do in the schools, right? You're working with kids and helping them with these kinds of things.
Absolutely. Yes. Everything from, like you said, these mock interviews. I do a lot of mock interview I guess you say preparation, should I say, as well as just interview preparation in general. If a student comes to me and says, hey, I have a job interview coming up, my job is to sit down with them to go over their resume. If they need a cover letter, help them develop a cover letter properly. And also, we talk about everything from attire to the way you come in, you shake, full hand, good firm handshake, smiles. You speak to everyone. So we talk about all those things throughout that process. But my job as a career coach, I do everything from helping them, take assessments that is going to help them make decisions on their career and what they see as being, I guess, that area of interest. But also, we take an assessment specifically about their skills. We want to know, the areas that things that they're good at, and also the things that they might have some deficiencies in. So the whole point of that is to kind of put them in a position to be successful.
And it starts, like the things that we're talking about are more for the high schoolers, but this
Right.
starts pretty young where we're talking about
It does.
careers.
Yes.
First,
yes.
you're community helpers, right?
Mhm.
And then you move up to career exploration.
That's
or
right.
how does it
Yeah.
work? Remind
Yeah.
me.
So we have this new thing called Cooter Galaxy. I
Uh-huh.
think that's the newest one. That's through elementary, and then that runs all the way through elementary. And then once you get there, that's when you start. After that's over, you start into the Alabama Career Planning System, which starts typically in the 6th grade. And students they can start taking those assessments, those skills assessments, those interest assessments at that time to be able to put. Yes, it's at that point, start to develop an idea, where their interest lies. And of course, you'll be amazed how their interest changes from 6th grade to 8th grade, and even from 8th grade to 10th grade. So it's great to always take those assessments each and every year. I encourage students, just because you took it in 8th grade, you're in 11th grade, I promise you the same interest that you had in 8th grade is not the same one you have now. So the whole point of that is to continue to take those and update those on a yearly basis. And then also, obviously, continue those conversations based off of the results of those assessments that they take. So extremely important. I've taken it many, many times. I'm shocked at how it mirrors my interests. It's amazing.
What does it
Same
say you
thing.
should be when you grow up?
Well, I'm a country guy, so I love the outdoors, and I love science. So most people don't know, but I'm actually a biology major.
Okay.
So I love animals, love the outdoors. So typically I'm always in between somewhere with dealing with the outdoors and dealing with science, studying the science or whatever. So laboratory type work, things of that nature.
Park ranger.
There you go.
That would be a fun job.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
Doing the field work of biology, that would all be so
Yeah.
fun. And I think because you were telling us about that during Learning Leading You, and I think I'm a mom of middle schoolers. We already talked about that, but the fact that I can ask them, "What did you do today?" and they're like, "Nothing,
Right.
nothing." And so when you talked about that, like they're taking these assessments, so this is a good conversation for parents that they can have with their kids, right? Like,
It is.
have you done a career assessment? What
Right,
did it say
right.
you're interested in, right? Like, what can parents do to kind of foster that with their kids and get them thinking about that?
Well, I think a lot of parents are not even aware of this, but they actually have access to their student's profile in Cooter. So they actually have a login, or there's an area where their parent can log in, and any information that once their student completes those assessments or any other information, their 4-year plan, et cetera, they can actually view that information. And of course, that would obviously spark a conversation for sure if they're able to access that information. So I just think we need to do a little bit better job of just making parents aware that they have that ability on that end. And also pushing and encouraging students that it's important to share that information as well.
So if they're listening and they're wondering, can they contact their child's teacher and say, "Hey, how can I access this?" Or-
Absolutely, yes. I would say contact your counselor or your career coach. Of course, we have 3 career coaches here in our system. We all service 4 high schools at the moment. I believe in the next year or so, hopefully we'll be adding some additional individuals to be able to assist or whatever, because we are I'll be honest, we're kind of spread thin with 4 individuals
I
in
can
12
see
high
that,
school.
yeah.
But nevertheless, we do the best we can. And but yeah, definitely reach out to your career coaches in your school systems as well as your counselors. They're typically the ones that can kind of point you in the right direction.
Let's give a shout out to your other coaches. Who are they?
Demetrius Thomas, and she's actually second longest tenured to me. And then our newest individual who just started, he just started actually in October, if I'm not mistaken. His name is Ty Brazil. We call him Ty. His first name is Tyran, but last name is Brazil.
Right.
So,
Okay.
So ask your student if they've met them.
Absolutely.
And then you can ask for their test results.
there you go.
It's not a test, it's an assessment.
Assessment. That's
A
right.
career interest inventory.
That's right. That's right.
Well, one of the aspects of job hunting that I found the most difficult was writing cover letters. And I told the kids with the mock interviews that was probably going to be much harder than writing the resume.
Yes.
And then I also was emphasizing how every interview needs a different cover letter.
Yes.
And I could tell that they were just kind of like, And so I was trying to emphasize, you've got the job description here. What you want to do is cut and paste job description pieces and put them into your cover letter and make your skills match what
Yes.
they're looking for.
Yes.
And that's a hard concept to get across.
It is. I agree.
Can
Yes.
you talk a little bit about how you work with students with those skills?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the things that you just mentioned is you're exactly right. I mean, that's exactly what you need to be doing to develop I guess you could say a good cover letter. It starts with the job description and working your way through the job description to know exactly what they're looking for and matching those things up with I guess the skills and things that you've accomplished over a time period that could fulfill those areas. It's always a hard conversation to be able to pull things out of students, especially high school students. A lot of times, they have a lot more in them than they actually know. So it just takes time sometimes developing that encouragement. I also talked to them about try to understand. I've always used the method when it comes to building cover letters. Your cover letters is somewhat your resume in paragraph form. So let's use some of those credentials that you have on your resume and let's insert those into your cover letter to show some of the skills, some of the things that you're involved in. I think that is extremely important, especially for high school student. It's ways around it. Obviously, as a high school student, you don't have a lot of experience, but there's definitely ways that you can write a successful cover letter for sure.
Well, one of the things, one of the girls I worked with talked about how she had been working in, I think it was Shoe Station, and so she knew a lot about customer service.
Yes.
And I said, that's perfect. All you need
Yes.
to do is emphasize different aspects of customer service. So it doesn't matter if this particular job you're applying for isn't about selling shoes. What you have been doing will fit perfectly into what they're looking for.
Yes, I
and
love
so I
it.
was trying to encourage that
Yes.
she could think more creatively about how her skills could match what the potential employer was looking for.
That's the people skills. Like my first job was at Domino's Pizza. And I just
Mine was
remember
McDonald's.
Mine was McDonald's too.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
But don't you think you learned things doing that? Like
Oh,
how to get
yeah.
along with people, how
Well,
to talk
McDonald's
to people?
emphasized customer service
Ab-
constantly. you know?
Absolutely. I promise you, I look back, I remember when I graduated from college, I thought about the things I had accomplished at that point, and I look back and I said, man, it's amazing. I couldn't believe what McDonald's had done for me,
Yeah.
believe it or not. And I remember I guess I was really good at the job because they hired me back every summer during college, as well as during the Christmas break.
Oh, they loved me at McDonald's.
They loved me there, but no, I learned so much about just communication, customer service, the things that you just sometimes overlook, and you don't even realize that you're developing those things. And before I knew it, when I got to college, I was kind of popular, and people knew me a lot, and I communicate with anyone. I didn't meet a lot of strangers, and I don't think I was that way before McDonald's. But
Wow.
so yeah, it's amazing the things that you pick up sometimes. It's not about flipping burgers or taking an order or whatever.
Well, having
but-
a good manager who knows how to help you
Develop
develop,
that.
and,
Yes, I agree.
and
Yes.
encourages you and
Yes.
says, you don't want to do this, but you do want to do this. All of that makes a huge difference.
I would agree.
And we learned the customer's always right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No
that's
question
right.
there.
No question.
And that's a good thing in life to know, no matter where you work, that sometimes you have to just make sure that you're meeting your clients' needs, your customers' needs.
I do it every day. Yes.
And you do a great job at it.
Thank you.
So when kids come and talk to you, do they know what they want to be when they grow up, or they kind of?
No, if I had a percentage, I would say 80% have no idea.
That was the impression I got with the mock interviews, too. There were a lot of really
Yeah.
talented kids with really impressive resumes, but
Right.
they weren't sure what in the world the future would hold for
Right.
them.
And some of that's okay, isn't it? Because you don't have to know when you're 16 years old.
Absolutely.
You just have to kind of be open to try new things and figure out what works for you, I would think.
I would agree. I tell my students, start early, researching, finding out information. If you're interested in going to college, go to college. That's fine. I have no problem with going to college. If you're interested in a particular major, make sure that the schools that you're looking at has that major. It's funny I'm saying that because I was thinking about a story. I had talking to a counselor recently, and this particular student mentioned something about her getting accepted into a school. The counselor said, so what are you going to major in? And she mentioned a major that's not even at the school. So, it's just those small things like that. You need to be doing your research. You need to be reading. Those are the things that I encourage our students, the individuals that I work with on a consistent basis. Look into this information. You need to find out as much as possible, so that you're making the right decisions that's for you and your family eventually. So,
because a lot of our students may be the first generation to go to college, so they don't think about this school specializes in this thing or this thing, and that's where you need to go for that.
Yeah, I think it's important that we make sure that they're aware, and that they're doing their due diligence when it comes to.
Well, and the other thing too about choosing a major and thinking about getting your money's worth out of college. Just as a personal example, my daughter wanted to major in drama or theatrical arts at South Alabama. And, if she'd had different parents, that might have been fine. But her particular parents both said, no, honey, you can take all the drama classes you want, but we're not majoring in it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
We're majoring in something that will provide you with a paycheck, a steady paycheck.
And that's one thing we emphasize. It's not every kid goes to college.
It's true.
A lot of them do, but then there's also career opportunities throughout Mobile.
Yes. Everything from training programs. I encourage students all the time. Once again, it's a conversation I have. Just like I say, if you're interested in going to college, go to college. If you're sure that's what you want to do. But if you're unsure, don't go. I tell them don't go. We have a large number of students that end up going that you guys know this. Go to college and they're back at home because college wasn't necessarily for them. So, but yeah, the different training programs that are out there, you can make plenty of money. You can make careers out of these different occupations if you get into these 2-year type programs, whether it be in a community college or a short-term type program. We have so many here locally that you see running across in our area with Bishop State, and I think Alabama Power has several now. I think they have an HVAC program that they just started. They obviously have the linemen's program that they've been doing for several years now. So there are ways to get into small, quick training type programs and actually be able to make a livable wage, and that's what we want our students to understand. So. Not always, not about college, but even going directly into the workforce. That's actually a possibility as well. So,
we have a lot of kids. I think if I did it over, I'd be a welder.
Yep. If I did it over, I wouldn't be a welder. I would probably be doing something dealing with manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or a travel agent.
Mm-hmm.
For those, that's a dying thing. I think with all the internet.
Yeah.
We need to take your career assessment.
You should.
No, but I like where I am.
Awesome.
I think
that'd be awesome.
I like communication. I like podcasts. So speaking of which, we got to wrap up on that. But we've enjoyed having you, Darwin, and
thank you for having me.
Thanks for everything that you're doing in our schools.
Thank you.
To
This
get our
is
kids
awesome.
college and career ready.
This is awesome, guys. Definitely keep doing this. I think this is awesome for our students and for our parents to listen in.
Well,
sure.
thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time on Learning Leading Now.